On March 14, 2019, firefighters responding to a house fire on Bellwood Avenue in Providence, Rhode Island, found something that still haunts them. Among the charred remains of the Watson family home, in what was left of the youngest daughter's bedroom, they discovered a porcelain doll. Completely untouched by the flames. Its glass eyes were open. Its painted smile was perfect. And in its small, delicate hand, it was holding a box of matches. The fire investigator, a man named Dennis Kovac with 17 years of experience, requested immediate transfer to a different district the next day. He never explained why. But the doll was logged into evidence. And 3 weeks later, the evidence room burned down. Tonight, I'm going to tell you about 7 cursed dolls. Dolls that didn't just sit on shelves. Dolls that ruined lives. Dolls that are still out there, somewhere. Let me tell you more about that Providence doll. The Watson family had purchased it at an estate sale in Fall River, Massachusetts, just 6 weeks before the fire. The seller was a woman named Margaret Hendricks, 83 years old, clearing out her late sister's belongings. She sold everything for almost nothing. She seemed desperate to be rid of it all. The doll had no manufacturer's mark. No label. Just cold porcelain skin and human hair, real human hair, dark brown and silken, rooted into its scalp strand by strand. Sarah Watson, age 7, had begged her mother to buy it. And her mother, Linda Watson, later told police that Sarah had never begged for anything before. Not like that. The child had gripped her mother's arm so hard she left fingernail marks. After the fire, investigators interviewed Margaret Hendricks. They wanted to know the doll's history. But when they arrived at her address in Fall River, they found her apartment empty. Abandoned. The landlord said she'd left in the middle of the night, 2 days after the estate sale. No forwarding address. No goodbye. Just a note on the kitchen counter, written in shaking handwriting that read, "I'm sorry. I had to pass it on." The doll from the evidence room was never recovered after that second fire. But 4 months later, it appeared in a photograph. A family photo, posted on Facebook by a couple in Hartford, Connecticut. Their daughter was holding it. Smiling. They'd found it at a yard sale. I checked that family's social media 3 days ago, preparing this story. Their accounts have been deleted. Every single one. In 1987, an antique shop in Asheville, North Carolina, received a peculiar donation. A Victorian-era doll in a white christening gown, approximately 14 inches tall, with bisque features and eyes that were unusual. They weren't glass. They weren't painted. The owner, Thomas Greer, later described them as looking wet. The doll came with a handwritten letter. The letter was dated 1952, written by a woman named Evelyn Marsh. In it, she explained that the doll had belonged to her daughter, Caroline, who had died of scarlet fever in 1889. Caroline had loved the doll so much that Evelyn had buried it with her. But 3 nights after the funeral, Evelyn woke to the sound of scratching. Scratching from inside the walls. When she lit a lamp and searched the house, she found the doll sitting in Caroline's rocking chair. Covered in dirt. Smelling of earth and rot. Evelyn kept the doll after that. She was too terrified to destroy it, too terrified to bury it again. And in her letter, she wrote, "It moves at night. I hear it walking. Small footsteps in the hallway. And sometimes I hear my daughter's voice. But it's not her anymore. Whatever speaks with her voice, it knows things Caroline never knew. It tells me things. Terrible things that haven't happened yet. And then, they do." The letter ended there. Thomas Greer kept the doll in his shop for less than a week. Customers complained of feeling watched. A child burst into tears and refused to enter. And Greer himself began experiencing vivid nightmares of a little girl with no face, standing at the foot of his bed, whispering his name. He donated the doll to a museum. The museum refused it. He tried to throw it away. But each time he disposed of it, the doll reappeared in his shop. Always sitting upright. Always positioned so it faced the door. Finally, in desperation, he sold it to a collector from Pennsylvania for $300. That collector, Edward Voss, died 2 months later. Heart attack. He was 31 years old, with no history of heart problems. The doll was found in his bedroom. And in his journal, discovered by his sister, the final entry read, "Caroline says it's my turn now." Not all cursed dolls look innocent. Some wear their darkness openly. In 2003, a storage unit in Baton Rouge, Louisiana was auctioned off after 3 years of unpaid rent. The buyer, a reseller named Marcus Thibault, found it packed with ordinary items. Furniture, boxes of clothes, old books. And in the very back, wrapped in a stained canvas tarp, he found a ventriloquist dummy. It was dressed in a rotting pinstripe suit. Its wooden face was cracked and peeling. And it was smiling. Not a friendly smile. A wide, manic grin carved so deep into the wood that it looked painful. Its jaw hung slightly open, and inside its mouth, someone had painted a tiny red tongue. Marcus took it home, planning to clean it up and sell it online. Vintage ventriloquist dummies can fetch good money from collectors. But that night, he woke at 3:17 a.m. to the sound of laughter. Not human laughter. Something higher pitched. Wheezing. Wooden. He found the dummy sitting upright on his couch. He'd left it in the garage. Marcus threw it back in the garage, locked the door, and went back to bed. The next night, 3:17 a.m., the laughter came again. This time closer. Right outside his bedroom door. When he opened the door, the dummy was there. Sitting in the hallway. Facing him. Over the next 2 weeks, Marcus tried everything. He took the dummy to a dumpster 15 miles away. It was back in his house the next morning. He burned it in his backyard fire pit, watching the wood blacken and crack. But the head wouldn't burn. No matter how hot the flames, the head remained intact, that grin never fading. And when he finally pulled it from the ashes, the glass eyes had melted and reformed. And now they looked in different directions. Both focused on him simultaneously, which should have been impossible. Marcus finally contacted a paranormal investigator, a woman named Dr. Simone Broussard from Tulane University. She agreed to take the dummy for research. But Dr. Broussard died 3 days later. She drove her car into the Atchafalaya River at high speed. No skid marks. No attempt to brake. The dummy was found in her passenger seat. Buckled in. After that, the Baton Rouge Police Department sealed it in an evidence locker. It remains there today. But officers assigned to night shifts report hearing something from that locker. A soft sound, rhythmic and patient. The sound of wood knocking against metal. Like someone, or something, is trying to get out. In 2011, a doll collector named Vanessa Hartwell from Seattle, Washington, paid $18,000 at auction for a rare French BB doll from the 1870s. It was exquisite. Perfect bisque skin, silk clothing, and eyes made of blown glass that seemed to follow movement with uncanny precision. The auction house disclosed that the doll had passed through 7 different owners in the past 15 years. Vanessa, experienced in the world of antique dolls, should have asked why. She didn't. She brought it home and placed it in her personal collection, in a glass case in her study. A position of honor. That night, her husband, David, asked her to move it. He said it made him uncomfortable. The way it looked at him. Vanessa refused. She'd paid too much to hide it away. 3 nights later, David woke to find Vanessa standing beside the bed. Just standing there. Staring down at him. When he asked what was wrong, she didn't answer. Her eyes were open, but she wasn't seeing him. She was sleepwalking. He guided her back to bed. But the next night, it happened again. And the night after that. Always the same. Vanessa standing beside the bed at exactly 2:43 a.m., staring, silent. On the 7th night, David woke to find her gone. He searched the house and found her in the study, sitting on the floor in front of the glass case. The case was open. The doll was in her lap. And Vanessa was braiding its hair, using her own hair. She'd cut chunks from her own scalp, and she was weaving them into the doll's hair, humming softly. Her fingers were bleeding. David tried to take the doll away. Vanessa attacked him. She had to be restrained, sedated, and hospitalized. In the psychiatric ward, she kept repeating the same phrase, "She needs to be beautiful. She needs to be ready. She's going to wear me soon." Vanessa remained institutionalized for 8 months. When she was finally released, David had moved. He'd sold the house and everything in it, including the doll collection. He never told Vanessa where the dolls went. He never wanted her to find them again. But 6 months ago, Vanessa's sister contacted me. She'd found something in Vanessa's apartment after Vanessa's suicide. A package. Recently delivered. Inside was the French BB doll. And a note, "She always comes home." Some cursed dolls are inherited. Passed down through families like heirlooms of suffering. In 1998, when Dorothy Kane of Boston, Massachusetts, died at age 92, her granddaughter, Rebecca, was surprised to be left something specific in the will. Not money. Not jewelry. A doll. A cloth doll, handmade, with button eyes and yarn hair. It looked like something a child might have sewn. Crude. Almost primitive. The lawyer explained that Dorothy had left explicit instructions: Rebecca must keep the doll. She must never give it away, never sell it, and never, under any circumstances, destroy it. If Rebecca refused the inheritance, the doll was to be buried with Dorothy. Rebecca thought it was strange, but she accepted it. It was just a doll. Her grandmother had been old, perhaps sentimental. But that night, Rebecca dreamed of a little girl. The girl was standing in a field of dead grass, holding the cloth doll, and she was crying. When Rebecca asked what was wrong, the girl looked up. Her face was covered in stitches. Rough, black stitches, crisscrossing her skin like she'd been sewn together. And she whispered, "You have to feed her." Rebecca woke up gasping. The doll was on her nightstand. She'd left it in the living room. Over the following weeks, Rebecca began to understand. The doll needed to be fed. Not with food. With hair. Small clippings of Rebecca's own hair, placed in the doll's cloth body through a small opening in the back. If Rebecca forgot, or refused, the dreams became worse. Nightmares of being sewn into fabric. Of suffocating in darkness. Of small, soft hands stitching her mouth shut. Rebecca tried to research the doll's history. She contacted elderly relatives, searched through her grandmother's belongings. Finally, she found a journal. Her grandmother's journal, from 1935. In it, Dorothy described how she'd received the doll from her own mother, who'd received it from her mother before that. The doll had been in the family for over 150 years. And Dorothy wrote, "It's a burden. A terrible burden. But if we don't carry it, if we don't care for it, it will take what it needs by force." My cousin tried to burn it in 1912. They found her 3 days later. Her body was... I can't write what they found. I have cared for it faithfully. And when I die, I will pass this duty to Rebecca. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But better her than letting it loose. Rebecca still has the doll. She contacted me last year, asking if I knew of any way to break the curse. I told her I'd research it. But honestly, I don't think there is a way. Some things, once invited into your life, never leave. I haven't told you about the final 2 dolls yet. Number 2 and number 1. I'm saving those for the next video, because honestly, they're different. They're worse. Number 2 is still active. Still moving from owner to owner. And number 1 was never owned at all. It chooses its victims. If you've made it this far, I need to ask you something. Have you ever owned a doll you didn't remember buying? One that just appeared? Check your homes tonight. Look closely. Because sometimes they've been there all along. Watching. Waiting. And now that you know about them, they know about you too.